Yeah.
Hello, as Todd mentioned, my name is Jim. I'm an alcoholic. Sorry, wrong meeting. But yeah, 25 years working with Perl can drive a person to drink. Today, I'd like to talk about a code pattern that I first heard about several years ago from Brian DeFoy called a modulino. And the idea is that it allows you to write a command line script in such a way that when executed from the command line, it behaves the way that you would expect. But if you require it from another script or from, say, or a test script, it will behave as if it's a module. And the simple way around that would be that. The basic process is to test the caller function. Caller has the property, to the best of my knowledge, that when it's called from the command line or from a parent process, it returns undef. So the whole idea is that you can initialize anything you want above this initial call, check the caller, and if the caller is undef, then you know you're running from the command line, and you can execute code. You put your code into subroutines and execute it. If the caller stack is not empty, then don't have any executable code. Now, in this case, I do have a print line here that will execute as it runs through. But normally you would not have that, and therefore there'd be no output to worry about yet, and yet your test scripts can load this and call whatever subroutines you have individually. So if we run this one, it works. It's just like you think. Now, let's look at a normal script real quick and see how this affects testing, which is the real benefit from doing this. The quintessential hello world. If we go to the tests, we see that it executed, but then no tests were run. Let's take a look at the test script. We're doing a require, which should have given us an okay, but we don't. But nothing happens. The reason being is our friend exit. And I'm going to presume that most of you always have exit in your scripts, along with end. So if we take that exit out, now it works as expected. However, we still have the output to deal with. So when testing a script like this, the best you can do would be to use something like tiny capture, or is it, I'm sorry, capture tiny, or summary tools, put backticks, trap the output, and then check to see if the script has done what you expected. That is a problem. if you're trying to see what else is going on, if you want to put breakpoints in, or rather mock out routines, you're not going to do it. Mainly because even with trying to use test MockModule, you're not in the same process as running in a child process, so you don't have access to it. I need to slow down my talking. Let's take a look at the bear test. This time, like I say, it works as expected. So let's take a look at the hello moo. Sorry. My screen has been really funky about showing things. I've made a couple of changes here. Where I've got the Modulino pattern. And I've incorporated moo into it. Plus, I've given a new package name up at the top. Hello moo, or bin hello moo. This gives us a lot of advantages. When I require it, nothing's going to execute other than this intentionally executable line. But even there, it won't print unless it is the coming from a command line. Or rather, it will print if it's not coming from the command line. That was there for testing purposes. And by the way, this attribute up here does need to be lazy. If you put in a default and try to include the CLI variable, it doesn't work. So there it is. And you can see that the output is coming from the run subroutine. And just here's the test on it. The implication for testing should be fairly obvious. If we look at what I've done with the I'm sorry. Bear with me a moment. Okay. Let's put this together with command line options. here I'm going. By working with GitOps along, you can pull in command line options and stuff them into the attributes in a Mu object. The only requirement is that anything like this has to be defined before you make the call to actually execute any code, or rather before you make the call to exit. And here is this is where I take the command line options and put them into the Mu attributes. The reason I like to do this is that I can take full advantage not only of get options parameter checking or basic checking. Is it a string? Is it an integer? Not to mention the Boolean flags. I can also take full advantage of the is a checking from Mu's structure. Once again, this allows for very detailed testing, and by being able to require the script instead of run it in a subprocess, you can achieve 100% test coverage. Run it in the bare mode, or you can stuff in the variable. If I put in something that doesn't exist, or it says as required, I get my error functions. If we come over and look at the role itself, this is up on CVAN. You'll see that what I did was basically take all the GitOps processing out of the script, and now I've put it into a role, just so I don't have to do a lot of copy and paste every time I want to write a script. This results in a command line script that's clean once again. And this is commented out because I've got the debug option or debug attribute in there in the role. I moved the CLI attribute in here. It's strictly there so I can give myself a sanity check and know that I'm running from the command line. Before I go further in this, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to say no. I'm going to depend on Todd to let me know if I need to stop for anything. This is the example script that comes with the CPAN module. So it has some sanity scripts built into it. So now by using this pattern, I have a nice clean structure. I can break things up. I think most of us try to write our scripts structured around subroutines anyway. So the only thing to keep in mind when doing this is that anything you want to execute before the script exits when running off the command line, you have to put up before wherever you put in the Modulinos pattern, which is right here. I personally prefer doing it in a do block. And it could be because I'm also a fan of postfix logic. Other people I've worked with like to do it inside an if block, which looks a little bit strange to me, to be honest. I'm going to apologize, folks. I did a dry run on this last week and it came out longer. And now that I'm seeing this, everything right here is just obvious to me. A quick history on the Modulinos pattern. The first I heard of it was probably around 2014 or so. And when I looked on CPAN, I saw that Brian DeFoy put up a proof of concept module as early as 2013. Does anybody have questions about what the Modulinos pattern is, or what else can be done with it? I've used it successfully with Dancer 2 applications, so I can have a normal test suite using it just makes it using test plaque or plaque test, and mocked out much of the dispatch tables, or added extra dispatch entries. Once again, achieving close to 100% test coverage. This is yeah. That's what I wanted to show. This was one of the test scripts out of the CPAN module. And once you require the test script, now you can call in the init code, check for everything. And of course, you can check your module to see if it was normal test procedures. You then call the run function like normal. You can see that I can easily use test MockModule to mock that out, especially if there's any code that does dangerous things with the database. Or back-end third-party calls that you don't want to execute. And unfortunately, this talk's running short. That's pretty much everything I wanted to cover, unless somebody has questions. Todd? Does anybody have questions? I'm not seeing any chat.
If anybody has any questions, go ahead and use the raise hand feature, or you can just unmute and speak if you like. Okay. Well, Jim will be available in probably hallway if anybody has any questions. And other than that, thank you, Jim, for speaking.
And thank you for your patience.
See you soon. Thanks.